Greetings and welcome to Disrupt Your Day, Season 3, Meet Your Next Superhero. Women have been starting small businesses in record levels since the pandemic began in 2020. Because everyone's path is different, there's plenty we can learn from women business owners who have been down the road before. So sit back, listen, and let them disrupt your day. Greetings, everyone, and welcome to VisionReady's podcast series, Meet Your Next Superhero. This is the sixth episode of Season 3, where we will talk about how women founders can leverage diversity to innovate. My name is Angara, and I'm the creative director for VisionReady. VisionReady is a certified women-owned business, helping women entrepreneurs transform their businesses with confidence, grit, and resilience. We help open doors with the public and private sectors for contract opportunities to grow your company's bottom line. We achieve this by providing business consulting, training, project management, and wellness programs. Our guest today is Yvette Steele, a passionate executive who helps businesses realize the promise of a diverse workforce through the implementation of data-driven initiatives that eradicate barriers many face in launching and thriving in tech careers, maximizing their potential and integrating inclusion into their day-to-day interactions. Yvette has been recognized as a diversity thought leader on the channel Future's DEI 101 list for advancing diversity, equity, and inclusion through words, actions, and leadership. And she has served on the DEI Advisory Committee for YMCA USA, the Tech Advisory Board Steering Committee for the National Urban League, and the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Task Force for Chicagoland Chamber of Commerce. Welcome, Yvette.
Well, thank you, Pon. It's good to be here. I can't wait to have this discussion.
And neither can I would love to hear all of your insights about, well, first of all, your story. You know, I'm all about storytelling and your story, and also how that has led to where you're at right now with DEI Insider. But before that, tell us about your journey in the field of technology and how that led to being a subject matter expert on diversity.
Absolutely. So I call myself an accidental technologist because I never imagined myself being in technology. My mom was a nurse when I was a kid. She became a teacher. My dad was a police officer. My mom encouraged me to go to college and said, you'd be really good at business. So I always loved marketing. I envisioned myself being that account executive in the ad agency. That's what I wanted to do. So I went to college. I majored in marketing, applied for a job after job after job after job, didn't even get an interview. So, right, nothing. But tech companies were hiring salespeople left and right. So I landed my first tech job in corporate America a few decades ago. It's a really long time ago.
Very few.
A really long time ago. And I got to tell you that when I started there, my thought process is that, well, this could just be a temporary thing. You know, you can keep looking for the ad stuff, you know, but you finish school, you have college loans, you gotta go to work and, pay your bills. So in my early tech career, I had experienced a lot of, things that happen in tech environments where there are very few people that look like me. So there was a lot of racism, a lot of sexism, unsavory behavior, toxic work environment. For the most part, it was just not pleasant. But over time, what you wind up doing is once you realize that there really isn't anything that you can do about it, you anesthetize yourself to it. You accept the fact that, hey, this is the way it is. You build a thick skin. You learn how to navigate within it, and you just keep going, because this is what you figure everybody else is doing, so you might as well do it too. What I how this impacted my journey is that even to this day, the technology industry in and of itself hasn't changed a whole lot. There's still a lot of unsavory behavior, a lot of discrimination, toxic environments that happen to historically marginalized groups all the time. Lots of times we're left on the fringes to be and not invited into the rooms where we can have an impact on, say, on pay equity, or on succession planning, or who gets the career advancing project. Those decisions are made in rooms where we tend not to be. So it's natural that, or it's not unusual or unheard of that the tech industry hasn't changed much, because the leadership hasn't changed very much, the perspectives hasn't changed very much. However, what's different about now versus then is that people are talking about it, and talking about it a lot, which for me is awesome, because as I started to hear their stories, I could also hear my voice in their stories.
Right.
And so for me, I heard my voice in those conversations. And as I started participating, I realized that a lot of people wanted to be a part of the solution, but simply didn't know how. So my expertise was born from my desire to help others build the skills that they needed to help them drive change on an individual level. Right. And knowing that when a bunch of other people get together as individuals, change for all can happen. So that's my journey into tech and my journey into DEI.
That's great, Yvette. And as we all know, need is the mother of invention. So I'm hearing, and of course I agree with you, that there was, and there still is, a great need for these conversations, and for the needle that we have to keep the needle moving forward. We have to keep it moving. And I think that conversations can happen both privately, publicly, and it touches so many aspects of business that companies, leaders of companies, have to keep thinking about how to make this part of their DNA, to the point of maybe even modifying their culture and all that. But we'll get into that later. I'm sure you will cover it. I tend to get ahead
I know we've only got like 20, 30 minutes. So there's a lot to touch on, but so feel free to, introduce thoughts or topics that I will more than likely expand on later.
Oh, sure, of course. And of course, if we don't cover them all today, we will have you back again. I'm assuming we can have you back again. But again, I am ahead of myself.
Okay, right.
So, my next question, Yvette, is how can women founders, dovetailing from what you said, how can women founders leverage diversity to innovate and to set themselves apart?
And it's important that we do leverage diversity to innovate and use that to set ourselves apart. Study after study has shown that diversity of thought from different lived experiences affords organizations a new way to approach problems and overcome challenges. So, long story short, diverse teams outperform homogeneous ones, not only because of their unique perspectives, but also because diversity triggers more careful information processing that is absent from homogeneous teams. So, in essence, homogeneous teams are plagued by a term you might have heard called groupthink. And that's when everyone is approaching a situation from the same perspective. Right. And so it's a lot easier for them to agree with one another and not challenge the status quo. When you have individuals with different lived experiences and introduce different perspectives, is where you can start to get the challenge, and you can start to get better ideation, for better problem solving, and more and better innovation. So when we think about women founders, there is no one size fits all approach. I've met women founders who are solopreneurs, where it's just them, or say 1 to 10 employees, and then like, for example, the organization that I work for is founded by a woman as well, but we have dozens of employees. Some founders have hundreds of employees. So it's really not a one size fits all approach, but let's just take it into both of those perspectives. So if you're a solopreneur, a company of say 1 to 10 employees, your approach is going to be starkly different than one who has dozens or hundreds of employees. The first thing that solopreneurs need to realize, though, is that they're not too small to leverage diversity, even if they are a company of 1. So evolving a micro business to be more diverse and equitable and inclusive requires a shift in thinking primarily. Solo and entrepreneurs are already possibility thinkers, as you well know, because I've been knowing you for a long time, and that's what you do. But when you stop to consider what your business looks like to people who are different from you, therein lies the business case. You can begin to see the possibilities or lack thereof when you look at your work from a different point of view. So for me, because I'm a solopreneur, and it's important that as I expand my business to not just focus on individuals or groups that look like me or share some of my traits. But if you're a larger organization, appealing to a diverse clientele is good for business. It provides a means for continued growth. It's in your best interest to demonstrate that your company values diversity in the marketplace, because the marketplace continues to be more diverse. So imagine the experience of a potential client when they engage with your content. It's critical, because you have to consider things like accessibility for individuals with disabilities, whether folks see themselves represented in images and find the language to be inclusive. It's one thing to market to clients who come from other races, cultures, genders, religions, but it's another thing to connect with them and convert them into actual clients. And that's where as a solopreneur and entrepreneur, that you have to be intentional about how your organization is perceived from the public's eye. I would also have to add to that, building cultural competence, which is just the awareness of the different cultures and how to navigate effectively within those, is critical for success, which are things that I talk about in my book, by the way, just to give it a shameless plug. But the biggest key to success here is just being intentional about it. So when you think of founders who have dozens of or who have much larger organizations, what's important that I think they need to focus on is how to make sure that you're getting diversity in the door. So what does it look like in terms of what is your inclusive hiring? Are your hiring practices inclusive, so that you can avoid the tendency of hiring staff that's much like yourself? As women, or men too do it as well, but women's intuition, just having that feeling of this feels right, it looks right, going with our gut, which is kind of the men's version of intuition, going with their gut. But at the end of it, what that really boils down to is your own personal biases, giving people the benefit of the doubt because you see yourself in them. So you just know that it's right. But in doing so, what you're doing is you're overlooking top talent that's like right under your nose. So it's important that you kind of take the blinders off and make sure that you are that you have diverse hiring practices, which may include, ensuring that your interview panels are diverse and looking at talent objectively instead of subjectively, and having a clear idea on what the role requires. So, for example, your job descriptions should only include the required and necessary skills to be successful, and eliminating language that could turn people off. So like a lot of job descriptions will say, well, we're looking for a rock star, a digital native, and people who are, we need an aggressive salesperson, that kind of thing.
Mm.
That language doesn't appeal to everybody. It could turn people off. So while you might have a person who's more than capable to do the job, when you start to add traits into the job description as opposed to actual requirements, women won't apply for jobs where they feel they don't have most of the qualifications. I'll say maybe in the 80 to 90% range, where men will apply even if they have just half of them. So encouraging, diverse talent can really start and end with how you put out your job description. Another thing that I would say too is you have to go about creating a culture where once you bring the diverse talent in, that you can actually leverage it. Because bringing us in and not having a culture such that we feel safe enough to contribute, feel valued, respected, and appreciated, where we have the ability to maximize our potential, it's just not going to work. If we're somewhere where we can't speak our thoughts, if we don't feel valued for our unique skill set, you're not going to get the best out of us. So the best thing to do is to create a culture such that everyone feels like they're welcome to contribute, their ideas are considered. And as a leader, it's important. I mean, it all starts with you, right? If it's important that you set the example, be the role model the behaviors that you want to see, because your team is going to take their cues from you. So being able to leverage the inclusion to your competitive advantage by making sure that your environment is such that people can contribute is definitely going to set you apart from other organizations that are not being mindful about this.
Right. Thank you so much for that, Yvette. And I have to echo that word that you mentioned in the beginning, being intentional, because that reflects, or your actions reflect your intentions. And again, actions speak louder than words. So having that as probably the big word that is the umbrella for this whole, for you said, being intentional.
Yeah.
That's so important. That is so important. So thank you for that.
Well, one thing that I want to, my dad used to tell me, and you can edit this out if you want to, but the road to hell is paved with good intentions. What I mean by that, especially in the inclusion space, is most of us consider ourselves to be fair-minded. We would never intentionally harm anyone. We treat people the way we would want to be treated. So we don't intend any harm. But in not being aware of other people's perspectives and projecting what you would want for you onto them, you can still not intend to cause harm, but still wind up doing so. Right. So I want to just point that out, because one of the things that I've learned since writing this book is how much harm I have done because I didn't know any better.
Okay, well, that's definitely valuable. So awareness is also key.
Right, awareness,
and intention. Takes two to tango.
Right, there you go. That's the word.
There you go. All right, go hand in hand. Intention and awareness.
Yes, right.
Thank you. So at VisionReady, we regularly talk about, and I said this in the beginning when I talked about VisionReady, where we help women entrepreneurs transform their businesses with confidence, grit, and resilience. Those are our pillars of those are three words that we feel are, characterize how we approach helping women in business. So tell us, what are some of the challenges that women entrepreneurs face in integrating diversity, equity, and inclusion into their business model?
Yeah. So going back to what I said about the solopreneurs is, what I find for them is the biggest challenge is believing that they're just too small. And I just want to reiterate that nothing could be further from the truth. You're not too small. Um, Putting an inclusive lens on your business practices is um, is the best way to identify ways that you are excluding.
Mhm.
So, do you use diverse suppliers? Does your website contain a diversity statement? Does your content employ inclusive language, or, to reach broader audiences? So when you think of what your business needs in order to reach broader audiences, I mean, that's also a challenge that a lot of organizations face is how to grow. And so you've heard the term doing something that you've never done to get something you've never had.
Mm.
Diversity may be something, maybe that one thing that you haven't tried yet in order to grow your business. So, you know, altering the way you go to market, in terms of trying, you know, um, different services and products to different diverse groups,
Right,
is going to be one of those tools that you can leverage in order to grow your business and attract clients that you would normally not have.
right.
So, for when I also think too about, the situation where you're you have, dozens or hundreds of employees, is, when people are looking to fill those positions, um, you want to have a strategy where people are coming to your business. So, as a business owner, you have to consider your brand. Is your branding such that, and I know you know a lot about branding too, is your branding such that, individuals will want to be employed by you? Are they proud to be a part of your organization? Are they, people that are your champion, where they're talking about you when you're not in a room? Are they, giving you referrals, telling people about the great opportunities or the great experiences they've had with your brand? In situations like that, people can't help but want to work with you because they're already engaging with you. When I think about, women who are looking to expand their businesses, and the hiring practice that they use, a lot of times we just don't know what we don't know about the people that we're trying to attract. So, having a strategy in place in order to help women grow their business is going to require out of the box thinking. So one of the things that has worked really well for me is making sure that I have a diverse network around me, diverse mentors, diverse advisors, that I am, socializing in rooms with people who are different from me, who have different experiences. So when you think about the way that we can make an impact as leaders, socializing with other leaders who are doing the same things that we're doing and are have a different skill set and are more successful at it, are people that we should emulate and identify as role models, so that we continue to not only go through the challenges but grow through the challenges.
I like what you just said about having having mentors and advisors, because I believe that no matter how long we've been in business, we can never do away with mentors, because there's so much to learn. I'm finding that I'm even seeking out mentors that are younger than myself, because they're, generationally, I can learn from generations after me.
Yeah.
Um, the way they think, the way, their values, what matters to them. So yes, so definitely surrounding yourself with other people with different life experiences is so important.
It's funny that you would say that, because have you heard the term reverse mentoring?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, so that's a term that a lot of organizations, or a strategy a lot of organizations employ, so that the older generation, the baby boomers and the Gen Xers, are being mentored by the millennials and the Gen Zers. And the knowledge exchange goes both ways.
Right.
So yeah, reverse mentoring is good. And there's also so many other things that we can do in terms of as we think about growing our business on a budget. I think that's something worth talking about.
Yes.
And getting the top talent for, especially like technology job roles, or for sales and marketing roles. Individuals a lot of times struggle to get that first job.
Right.
And if we look at the way that the younger generation likes to work, or different generations like to work, we can create what I call internships, returnships, apprenticeships, so that there's different categories of workers that can take on work that can help us advance our agendas without having the expense of a full-time employee. But we also get that knowledge of people coming in and looking at our work from a different perspective. And we also can shape and nurture what type of an employee they're going to be when we give them the resources that they need and invest in their success.
Yes, yes. Oh, thank you so much. So much information here, and I can definitely pull a few more subheads, subtopics that we're gonna have to invite you back for. So, yeah, just
Okay.
put it in your calendar. Anyway, so now let's get to your own work here, and about what you founded in your book and all this. So tell us about the DEI Insider and why you founded it.
I am so happy to do that. I got to tell you that it didn't start off the way that it ended up. It turned out way better. When I founded the company, all I was trying to do was write a book. that was the intent, just to write a book. But it's based on my belief, and it's now my motto. I put it everywhere that I have an opportunity. Is that my belief that inclusion is everybody's job, that anybody can do. Many think that inclusion practices are a function of HR or some other department that's off in the wild, and nobody really knows what all that's about. But at the end of the day, when you think about what inclusion really is something that we do ourselves in our regular interactions. So, I founded DEI Insider as a means to equip individuals to live and work inclusively. So the book is written to share 52 behaviors that we can do in the workplace or in our daily lives to help people feel more included. So, for example, as a white woman, you may not be offended when someone invades your personal space by touching your hair. But I'm here to tell you that Black women do. Our hair has been politicized, considered unprofessional, just for being in its own natural texture and its own natural state. And in all honesty, it's really not fair. But unless you've been educated on why not to do that, and why it's important for African American women to not have their space invaded in that way, it's going to seem like a normal thing to you. This is something that you wouldn't mind having done for yourself, or to yourself. So you're going to do it to other people. But what I'd like to say is that I've written a chapter exclusively about African American hair, and I titled that chapter, "Own Your Education." It's about educating yourself on the history of African American hair and its role in corporate America. Another activity that helps equip you to live and work inclusively is, let's just say, for example, your name is Geraldo. and someone shortened it to Jerry. They've taken your heritage and your nationality and pretty much, whitewashed it. It's now become an Anglo name without your permission. So, I think it's important for individuals to understand the nuances between different cultures and to be able to understand that it's not okay to change Geraldo's name to Jerry unless he says, hey, just call me Jerry. So, in practicing understanding the importance of saying people's names correctly, I have a title called Say Their Name. And another chapter to support that belief is around reconsidering the golden rule. Not everybody wants to be treated the same way you want to be treated. It's important to understand that what matters to me may not matter to you, and vice versa. So going back to that awareness pond that you talked about.
Right, right.
So that's why I founded DEI Insider, because I wanted to equip people to live and work inclusively.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Let me just, at this point, call the audience attention to, the book. And I'm going to just repeat the title for everyone's benefit. So it is Impactful Inclusion Toolkit, 52 activities to help you learn and practice inclusion every day in the workplace. Now, this has received some great reviews. Let me just read one of them from Catherine Rose, who's the founder and CEO of GetWise. And she says, the Impactful Inclusion Toolkit lives up to its promises of helping anyone at any level create a more inclusive workplace, whether you are just starting your inclusion journey or been on this road for a while. Steele lays out a roadmap of activities, follow-up actions, and resources to help us not only understand what inclusion looks like for people of color, members of the LGBTQ community, individuals with disabilities, and others, but it also provides practical steps we can take each and every day. I highly recommend this resource for all who want to create a more inclusive work environment and society. So this is the review from Catherine Rose, founder and CEO of GetWise. So Yvette, tell us, are there other things that this book has done for your journey, especially maybe things that you did not expect, that were a nice surprise for you as a professional and as a person?
Yeah, Pon, that's a great question. And I'm just beaming when I think about how it has changed my life. It's been life-changing as well as eye-opening for me. Before writing the book, I had no idea how my biases informed my decisions and my interactions, how I insulted people through my and I'm putting this in quotes, acts of kindness, because I meant no harm. I was just doing what I thought was okay to do. And I also wasn't leveraging my privilege to help people with less. So, for example, working with individuals with disabilities and not understanding that, using language like, if I saw someone struggling with something, I would make a comment about the way they speak, not thinking it was causing any harm, but in all actuality, it really was. So, being able to understand my privilege and an able-bodied person and not being able and not leveraging that for individuals with disabilities was one of those things that I just, wasn't aware of and wasn't conscious that I was doing. So what I've learned in this role is that I've deepened my connection with my children who are both in the gay community, and I'm a better leader as I strive to see the entire person and the intersection of their identities, which impacts the way that they see the world. So I am, though, when I look at my world as an African-American, able-bodied, heterosexual female baby boomer, I see the world differently, than a Gen X or a millennial, non-binary, able-bodied person. Everybody's got their own experiences, but when I'm when I can see the world through someone else's eyes, I can build better relationships. I have built better relationships. I'm a better mentor. I'm a better ally. And I hope that this book does the same for my readers.
Wow. Well, thank you, Yvette, for spending time with us today and for sharing your invaluable insight and experiences and why you wrote the book. It is so important for our audiences to know that it's still work is still very personal,
Yeah.
and it becomes fulfilling when it becomes meaningful for how we do it and why we do it.
Mhm.
So I hope that we can have you back on our program again soon, because I know we have a lot of subheads from our
Lots to
talk
talk
that
about.
we need to address still.
Yes, absolutely, we do, because the change isn't going to happen by itself. We have to be intentional about it, and we have to grab the bull by the horns and educate ourselves so that when we know better, we do better, and our outcomes are better.
Great, thank you so much. And tell us how we can avail of your book.
Absolutely. A couple ways. It's available on all the top sites of the booksellers. So it's at Amazon, Books a Million, Barnes and Noble, and I have direct links to those bookstores on my website, deiinsider.com. There's also a bunch of other goodies on my website that your audience might like, Pon. If your readers like book clubs, I have a book club guide there. If you are just beginning your inclusion journey, I have a certificate that you can download to announce the fact that you are a champion of inclusion, so that people recognize the fact that, hey, I am practicing inclusion, and that I'm working to create an environment where people are welcomed and they feel valued. And now you can put that out there as part of who you are as an individual. So you can visit my website. You can download the resources. You can also download an excerpt from the book as well. So lots to do there.
Wonderful, thank you. And well, we definitely we'll have the just what you just said, all the links to your resources and especially to the book in our video description on YouTube, so our audience can link to that.
Thank you.
So
I'm
thanks
looking
again.
forward to it.
Good. Thanks again, Yvette. And thank you to all our viewers for joining us today. Stay tuned for details about the next episode coming to you soon. Meanwhile, take care, stay safe, and stay true. Bye now. Bye, Yvette.
Bye.
Thank you for listening and letting us disrupt your day. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast. For the latest entrepreneur buzz, please sign up for our newsletter by using the link in the description. Remember, be the change you want to see in the world. Until next time.